Without a destination real, what I am ever spending time whirling around. But what am I to do? My mind is in the deep of world. Give me a little one small thing to you got me going in circles. Round and round I go.
Right? What's up, Black family? This is Super Mike.
With timeless hopes that never stop. And what
All right, we're about to get going. What's going on? In circles. All right, Black family, this is Super Mike. We'll go over a little bit. I think this is a very important topic, very important. So click the thumbs up. Let me know what you're thinking. Make your comments. You know, comment on the video, talk to it, say whatever you want to say. All right, so the title here is God fake vapor or real deal? Is God fake vapor or real deal? This is important. Why? Because every society, every world, every group in order for you to unite, you have to unite on the basis of an idea, of a principle. You can't unite unless there is a force uniting you. And force comes from thinking, ideas, right? It's got to be an important idea. And the foundation of your society, of your world, or of your ideology is considered the absolute right, which is God, the supreme being, right? So I just wanted to kind of go over a little bit Dr. Wesley's work, this book here. It's called The Book of God. And just want to read a little bit on this here. You know, and how does this relate? What's the point of this here? See, when you have confusion, then confusion breeds problems because you got inconsistencies, you got, you know, all kinds of issues come up throughout confusion and uncertainty and misdirection. And therefore, you're going to have a lot of disunity because of confusion, right? So you want to be using the truth. The truth is what we are designed off of, right? Because the truth doesn't really depend on whether you believe it or not, or understand it or not. The truth is just what it is. This is the physical reality. It's out here. It is what it is. It's true whether we understand it or not. Our understanding allows us to make decisions and manipulate reality. See, our understanding is important because our purpose in reality is to manipulate and control reality. The power and the nature of the human being is to develop this, the brain. That's our job. That is our nature. Human beings are supposed to develop the brain. You know, a lion, his job, claws, teeth. His job is a predator in an ecosystem. You know, that's his nature. The sun's nature, shine. It does what it does. The earth, the moon, you know, a flea, a bee, an ant. Their job is to do what comes natural to them. The job of the human being, the reason why we have this ability to understand is because we're supposed to develop the brain. And that's pretty tough because what that is, it gives us a power over reality that is unmatched. It is, you can achieve God level, the book of God. I mean, this is not a religious book. This is just research. In this book, he just researched ancient systems of spirituality, of the concepts of God and the black God, right? He says, an encyclopedia of proof that the black man is God. Now, you got to realize, what you think consciously is not necessarily what is. And this is the problem. We have to humble ourselves so that we can see what is real. It's what's real is right in front of our faces, but if we can't see it and we can't understand it, then we're not going to be able to control or manipulate it, or adjust ourselves to situations. So that's what I want to do here. I want to deal with a couple concepts. First concept is spirit. When you hear that word, what do you think of? Spirit. You know, the Hollywood taught you it was a ghost. Spirit. Spirit. I worship the ancestors, the spirit of the African ancestors. That's what a lot of black people say. The spirit of the African ancestors. And what I'm going to point out is to my people who would like to call themselves African. I mean, I don't have a problem with calling ourselves African because right now we had to dig ourselves out of confusion. But every time you call yourself African, this here, they believe is a coin with the Carthaginian Hannibal. This would be, if it's true, this is Hannibal. He would be, and his family, the Barca family, would be the rulers of North Africa. They fought Rome, the ancient Aryan white supremacist slave-making society of Rome, right? And you know, the thing is, he didn't want us to say African. He didn't want us to identify as that language. So now, regardless to what any argument anyone makes about the Afrikaan is a tribe in Africa, or, you know, I don't know, you know, there's been several studies on it. People don't say that this word Afrikaan is an indigenous language. Even if it is indigenous, we have 3 Punic Wars that was fought in order to resist the Romans being able to affix their labeling on us as Black African people. So when you continue to refer to yourself as African, this man turns over in his grave because he hates, you know, Cyprios Africanus, which was the Roman leader who took the name because he overcame what is called Africa, and they just decided to name the whole continent that. You know, and after that, of course, the white people, the Ptolemaic Empire, they went into there and they went to take over North Africa. They were white people, you know. So we just need to understand, you know, that's what I'm talking about when we're talking about learning piece by piece on how we've been deceived. You know, and you can't, we've been deceived so much that we think it's useless to uncover these deceptions, but you got to take them piece by piece, piece by piece. And it takes it. We've been deceived with the white supremacist mindset, dealing over 6,000 years. It was beginning 6,000 years. There's a story talking about when they first came down from the caves. Let's see. Thumbs up from your family. Yeah, there's a story talking about how the cultures, anomalous blue-eyed people came to Israel 6,500 years ago. You know, so these people brought different ideas, you know, deceptions, and this stuff is now starting to stale. It's starting to expire, meaning the lies in it are starting to be shown. So we're going to have to deal with some of this. So right now, let me just read this point here, because when we get out of here pretty soon. So I want to say here, let's look at this here. He says, and this is the brother's book. He says, the black God in history. The universal worship of the black God in antiquity. The whole world at one time knew that the black man was he through whom the supreme all manifested himself. J.A. Rogers, in his 100 Amazing Facts About the Negro, says. I actually have that book too, but I haven't getting it, so I'm not going to go get it. Nearly all of the ancient gods of the Old and New World were black and had woolly hair. From the texture of the hair, I am inclined to assign to the Buddha of India, the Fuhi of China, the XAXHA, I will say Shuang Ha of the Japanese, and the Quetzalcoatl of the Mexicans, the same, and indeed of African, or rather Nubian origin. And so you got to realize, and that's one of the things that he has on there. So Godfrey Higgins, in his prodigious work, Anacolapsis, an inquiry into the origins of languages, nations, and religions. All right, so really I want to get into, this is one concept I want to touch base on, not that one. But we're dealing with black gods, okay? Why is that important? Because you have to emphasize the blackness of the god, because the enemy intentionally demonized the hue of black. So we have stupid Moors. We have a lot of stupid Moors who come up with all these concepts to try to attack the blackness, just the hue of it. And so that needs to be dealt with. This is what I wanted to, let's see here. I want to deal with this concept called spirit. Let's see here. All right, God as spirit and matter. Let's deal with that right quick. Hold on a second here. All right, so God is spirit and matter. The Western world has juxtaposed spirit and matter in such a way that the two are seen as mutually exclusive, that they cannot be at the same thing. This is not, however, the original peoples of antiquities, of how the original peoples of antiquity understood the spirit-matter dichotomy. So people didn't think that spirit and matter was separate. And keep in mind, look at us, we're humans. You know, if you, once your spirit leaves you, you are inanimate, but you are material. So to them, spirit and matter were two aspects of the whole, and the whole depended on the harmonious union of the two. Wade Noble's notes. And so he's referencing other authors. So this book is a encyclopedia, meaning it's not just him talking. This is not just Dr. Wesley talking. He's getting all from different points in history. He's researching their efforts and documenting and presenting them to us, okay? So the reality for the ancients was also always conceived of as the synthesis of the visible and invisible, the material and immaterial, the cognitive and the emotive, the inner and the outer. So all of that was together. Keep in mind, we're talking about concepts of spirit. When you hear the word spirit, what do you think? Are you thinking of a thing, or are you thinking of a vapor? You know, spirit was not vapor. A spirit was literally a live body, something that was alive. He says the supreme being, according to the ancients, was simultaneously spiritual and material. Egyptologist Theophile Obanga observes. The opposition between matter and spirit does not exist in ancient Egypt, where nature forms a whole, matter and consciousness intermingled. Spirit and matter are both modes of the same reality. All right, so I'm gonna see if I can find a picture of Obanga. We'll find it later. Let's see. Hold on a second here. Hold on a second. Theophile Obanga. So we need to understand that spirit, and I mean, these concepts you got to learn. Otherwise, you're going to still come up with this confusion. When you're confused over these concepts, then this is the reason why white people can keep on ruling us, because they have, this is all spiritual science. You know, they've gotten us to a point where we believe these things, but this stuff was very it was put there intentionally, strategically. So this is the concept. This is the Egyptologist Theo Obanga. Let's see here. Yeah. This is the brother right here. Theophile Obanga. All right. So basically, Freehoff, let's see what Freehoff Capra concurs. Freehoff Capra concurs. Since motion and change are essential properties of things, excuse me, the forces causing the motion are not objects from the outside, as in classical Greek view. So keep in mind, classical Greek view thought that things were being moved based on outside sources, but are an intrinsic property of matter. Correspondingly, the Eastern image of the divine is not that of a ruler who directs the world from above, but a principle that controls everything from within. All right. I'm gonna read that again. So I'm just giving y'all different concepts of God. This is spirit, and this we're dealing with Greek. Keep in mind, the Greek mindset is the reason why we even have the concepts, foundational concepts that we've been taught and our parents have been taught for hundreds of years, thousands now, about probably 1,000 years now, over 1,000 years. Since motion and change are essential properties of things, the forces causing the motion are not objects from the outside, as in classical Greek view, but are intrinsic properties of matters. Correspondingly, the Eastern image of the divine is not that of a ruler who directs that world from above, but a principle that controls everything from within. See, that's the Eastern view. Within is God, not some powerful being controlling you, turning every move, making you do whatever you got to do. The change of view can be traced back to René Descartes, the 17th century philosopher known as the Cartesian split. So this Cartesian split, he was a 17th century philosopher, which at least popularized the spirit-matter dualism. Marcel Mauss, writing in What is Matter? History of the Concept and Present Conception, says, the matter-spirit opposition is much more recent. It came along with the notion of matter as purely mechanical and geometric, which dates back perhaps to Galileo, certainly to Descartes. The notion of matter purified of all spiritual element developed for the most part in France and Great Britain. So let's read that again. And let me pull up a history of these people, because pictures sometimes help us to really see what's going on. So, yeah, Descartes. That's him right there. Let's see what his argument was. Descartes has shown in meditation, mediation, too, that he can understand himself purely as a thinking thing. In mediation 5, he has shown that he can understand bodies purely in terms of their spatial extended characteristics. Whatever can be understood clearly and distinctly, as distinctly really is distinct. Therefore, there is a real distinction between mind and body. So he's talking about dualism. You know, they're coming up with various concepts. You know, this is the dude, Descartes. The notion of matter, this notion of matter purified of all spiritual element, developed for the most part, in France and Great Britain. So the notion of matter with no spiritual element, like a rock. See, that developed, to him, whatever can be understood clearly and distinctly as distinct really is distinct. Therefore, there is a real distinction between mind and body. Mind and body are different, even though they're in the same thing. You see, this is what I'm saying. See, this is Western thought. This is the reason why they don't think about the whole. They think about pieces. Everything is a piece. But, you know, in reality, all our pieces exceed the sum of the whole, right? And we know that's true, right? Our pieces exceed the sum of the whole. So, you know, we need to just touch base. You know, we're just trying to get some concepts out the way. We're getting some concepts out the way. Now, according to the wisdom of the ancient black man and woman, matter and spirit are mutually codependent, and the whole is the product of their synthesis. See, we all experience this profound truth in our lives. All of us who have electricity running through our homes know that the copper wiring is absolutely necessary for our use of the electric current. The copper wire serves as a transmitter of that current. If the wire is damaged, the electricity is left suspended, unable to be made manifest. until more wire is put down. The current represents the spirit of God. The wire represents the transmitter of God, the human body. To the ancients, spirit was masculine and matter was feminine. Okay, so I'm going to say that again. To the ancients, spirit was masculine and matter was feminine. So this is an ancients. So this here, now a lot of us think that this might be like porn or something, but this was this the symbol of the ancients of Shiva and Shakti. And this is how life is kept here. So to the ancient, spirit was masculine, and matter was feminine. They were represented as twin gods, male and female, called mother and father of man. Sometimes they were shown in a sensual embrace, as in Shiva and Shakti of India. This represents the sensual embrace between spirit and matter. At other times, the two gods are wedded into one androgynous deity. Yeah, see, this is them. Yeah, so they're wedded in an androgynous. If you notice right on the right, it's just the male's chest. On the left here, you got the woman's chest. You got the male's leg, the female's leg. You know, so they're mixed together. So these are just concepts here. This is the, you know, the concepts, you know, these things are all stuff that has to be understood. It's not something that you can just look at straightforward and with today's mindset, you just can get it. You know, this stuff here is something that you have to study when you're looking at ancient ideas. It's not all porn like we're thinking sometimes. So, you know, the bottom line is God being a spirit wasn't always, it was basically like the spirit or reality was an infusion, a spirit was an infusion of of uh, of the spirit which was considered masculine and the matter. So both of them together was spirit. And so I'm not going to go through that. I want to go through this next part here. Let's look at this here. So who was that mystery God? As we've noted, the worship of God as a formless spirit floating someplace in the sky did not originate with the original man, nor was it taught by the prophets of God. This way of viewing God began with the Greek philosophers in the 5th century BC. Anaxagoras, who is this dude? Let's look at him. Anaxagoras. So this guy, these are the Greeks. So Anaxagoras reacted against the anthropomorphic God, which is the physical God, a man, a man. God being a man is anthropomorphic. He reacted against the anthropomorphic God of the ancients and instead proclaimed that God was an infinite self-moving mind, not enclosed in any body. But it was his successor, Xenophanes, who launched a full-fledged attack on the gods of the Greek pantheon and of the original peoples. He condemned the god of the Ethiopians, for example, because he had a snub nose and black hair. These are the Greeks. So the Xenophanes said this way of understanding God was wrong because God is properly one and incorporeal in substance and figured around, in no way resembling man, that he is all sight and all hearing, but breathes not. So that comes from Greeks. Thus, incorporeal God was standardized by Plato. So this incorporeal God was standardized by Plato. And we know Plato, right? Plato. Plato. And Plato's pretty famous even today. This incorporeal God was standardized by Plato. He is giving credit. So this was back in 427. Oh, this is BC. 427 to 347 BC. He was given credit as the one who perfected the concept of the immaterial reality. According to a Platonic system of thought, he would be utterly inconceivable. It would be utterly inconceivable that God should have a material body. For a Platonist, the idea of divine corporeality could be dismissed by a simple syllogism. God is supremely real and supremely good. Matter is least real and least good. Therefore, God must be immaterial. I mean, this man has such confidence in his understanding of reality that he could make these type of judgments. So Aristotle named this immaterial reality the unmoved mover. This unmoved mover was pure being and such eternal, immobile, spiritual. Since matter is flawed and mortal, there is no material element in God. Plotinus said this ultimate reality was not a thing, but is distinct from all things. In the 6th century AD, a Greek Christian wrote a mystical treatise and ascribed it to Denis, the Areopagite, St. Paul's first Athenian convert. God is here described as a mystery beyond being, who should more appropriately be called nothing. So these people, these are the people who give us the concept of a nothing vapor type God. These are Greeks. So this is the mystery God. Thomas Aquinas would later take up the banner of Plato's immaterial reality with the words, "In this way, God and prime matter are distinguished. One is pure act, the other is pure potency. They agree on nothing." So I'm just trying to give us a couple of pieces. I'm not trying to stay on here really that long. Just giving us a couple of pieces of ideas how the concepts, these God concepts, this is figuring out in our concepts when we have our discussions, because a lot of us says God is not real. Well, the Greek God is not real. Greek God is not real. They said themselves. Remember, that's Plato's God. That's Anaxagoras' God. That's this guy Xenophanes' God. That's Plotinus's God. Their God is not real. The divine names of Denis says God is not to be understood. Nothing can be said of him. He cannot be named. He is not one of the things they are. But they keep using the word he. So that they were too stupid to take that out, because they keep saying he. Because the original people looked at God as a man, as human, as a physical being. God has a physical reality and a spirit. Okay. In this way, God and prime matter are distinguished. One is pure act, the other is pure potency, and they agree on nothing. The later Greeks introduced the mystery God to the world as an object of worship, but the original man knew better. God is spirit that manifests himself in a material body, the black material body. The great spirit of African traditional religions. See, and I'm going to go here. And this is important. The belief in one all-powerful, all-wise, yet anthropomorphic creator is the trademark of the old-time religion of the black man and woman. It was this old-time religion and the God which inspired it, which provided us with the thought processes and worldview, allowing us to build the marvelous civilizations which baffle scholars and scientists to this very day. These civilizations were built on righteous law long before Moses received the Ten Commandments. We displayed our righteousness in the 42 negative confessions in Egypt and the Code of Hammurabi in ancient Babylon. This is the same God who appeared to all the prophets from Abraham to Muhammad, right? Since we have abandoned the God of our fathers, we have been unable to build so much as a teepee. So that's Wesley's commentary. But, it was also interesting that, even the Australians he sold here, they had in Gippsland, let me see. Yeah, for example, even like the Zulus, the Zulu nation of Southern Africa, the creator, according to the Zulu, was Unkulunkulu, who was the first man, who was the first man. However, today Unkulunkulu is despised and worship has been transferred to the Amatongos, or ancestral spirits. So we're abandoning the ancient black God, man, coming from within us to do things. God is in us to do things. and we accepting the white man's God, which is some shit outside somewhere. We don't know where it's at really. It's just a I'm a Tongos, right? And this is why we can't even build a teepee. So, these are concepts we got to understand. And the thing is, with the human mind, you got to understand we live within a universe of spirit. This is so deep because once we start beginning to understand and acquiring the knowledge within the universe, when we acquire proper knowledge and develop this, then we change reality. So if we have an improper wisdom, then our reality is going to be reflecting that. So this is how this thing works here. So I'm just, giving us some couple of pieces here, and this is from research, you know. So the brother says the African belief in the Great Spirit developed more and more as we travel further and further from the centers of civilization. Though romantic Afrocentrists will probably take offense to this statement, it is historically accurate, as we have shown in all of the original man's ancient centers of civilization: Egypt, Sumer, Mohenjo-daro, Arabia, Persia. God was not understood simply as a great spirit, but as a spiritual being that manifests itself in the body of a black man. As groups of original people left these centers for nomadic reasons or due to exile, some fell away from the civilized life. So you're getting kicked out of these civilization centers. You living in the bush, you devolving, because people evolve and devolve because we're very, evolved prior to our fall. Okay. So, but some of these populations retain their original understanding of God. Many so-called primitive cultures continue to hold on to the God of our fathers. In Andrew Lang's The Making of Religion, he notes, the supreme being of the indigenous people with added power, omniscience, and morality is the idealization of themselves, minus the fleshy body and minus death. He was not necessarily a spirit. When we call the supreme being of the indigenous people a spirit, we introduce our own animistic ideas into a conception where it may not have originally existed. The Gippsland of Australia believed the creator was a gigantic black living among the stars. Lane calls the high god of these so-called low races a magnified non-natural man. Such a one was referred to by the so-called low races with the same language as Christians referred to their God, the ancient one, our maker, our father, E.O. James, in History of Religions. This unique and remote figure stands in sublime majesty as the highest expression of the supernatural power and will, primeval and benevolent, the giver, the guardian of the good and the right, the supreme originator, and the upholder of the laws and customs whereby society is maintained as an orderly and ordered whole. So lofty, in fact, is the conception of the tribal, this is Australian, all father, that at first it was dismissed as having been imported by Christian missionaries or other foreigners acquainted with the higher conceptions of deity. It is now established, however, the beliefs in the high God among low races is a genuine and characteristic feature of uncontaminated primitive religion recurrent among such Aboriginal people as Australians, the Fuegians, and South of America, or the Fuegians in South of America, and California tribes in North in North America and certain Negritos and other Negroids in Africa and elsewhere. And so I'm gonna end it off on that. So like I said, we need to understand like these concepts of God, and God is really the foundation of your idea of whatever society that you build, because that's the foundation of your spirit. That is your, sacred science. Something has to be sacred for you to risk your life, because building civilization, fighting for it is sacred. Your spiritual beliefs, that is sacred. And these concepts of God, what is the supreme being? What is the extension of my life? These concepts have to be clear and understood by you. Okay, and if we're dealing with concepts of this from our enemies, then what ends up happening is, we follow and reproduce what they want us to reproduce. And keep in mind, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he gave us that concept of a real God. Whenever you look at the black man, you are looking at God. Now, because of our sickness and the way that the enemy have taught us, anytime we hear man, we're thinking male. But man is woman as well. So man is male and female. There we are man. Okay. And so this is, for example, the Fuegans, and we know that the Fuegans, Aborigines from Australia, these are original people. They consider themselves black. These are black people too. Now they're not the same tribe as the black people in America, but even our concept of what black people is, this is the reason why the messenger taught us black, Asiatic black men, because black is talking about the original people of the planet. And if we continue to use the teachings from hillbillies and hickabobs and people like this, these are substandard people. I mean, we should be embarrassed to be ruled over by this kind of group of people. I mean, we can't keep listening to these Aryans. They're hillbillies. And they was taught a little bit, so they was able to fix themselves up, but inside in their heart, they're still hillbillies. And these hillbillies are murderous. We don't have the right no more to let ourselves listen to them, be ruled over by them. They want to murder us. Okay? Just look at what they did to Nat Turner. So this black man Nat Turner, remember Nat Turner? He rebelled against the enemy because they were enslaving black people. He learned a little something from the Bible. And this monster, what's his name? William Mallory. Before he died, this is his obituary. He bragged that he's the one that skinned Nat Turner. He skinned Nat Turner. So it says the Petersburg Express of the 17th has the following paragraph. Mr. William Mallory, an old citizen of Southampton County, died a few days ago. And this was June 7th, I believe, 1860. He said that he died a few days ago. Mr. Mallory was 80 years of age and figured in the suppression of the Southampton massacre. And that's the kind of code language they used when they talked about Nat Turner's rebellion. He was the identical Buck Mallory who skinned Nat Turner, the leader of the rebellion, and the hide having been tanned, portions of it are now extant in the curiosity shops of many residents in and about Southampton. While in the store, Mr. John R. Davis this week in this city a week or two since he remarked that he had skint Nat Turner, and he would have skint old John Brown if he could only have had the opportunity. The old man returned to his home, and that's where he died, never to leave it again. So, these are the types of histories that we need to know. We need to understand the type of satanic mindsets that we're dealing, these little hillbillies and stuff, these type of people, we should want to get far away from them. We need to listen to Minister Farrakhan. Right now, we're dealing with the fall of America. If anybody had read this book, you would not be surprised about what's happening going on, because white people society, they always end up expiring. And when that society expires, you have the opportunity to redevelop. And you have to get rid of these old fake concepts of what the enemy have taught you. But usually they teach you so many layers of lies and confusions. Even when you can clearly see the truth, it takes time for you to really accept it fully. And so, anyway, I think that I haven't really seen any comments, so hopefully somebody will see this when it's time. And I want to know what y'all think about it, because, what's up? Well, what do we think about it? Are we still going to worship spirit just once we learn what these people really meant by spirit? Do we still think that it's, just, it doesn't matter? And even the people who say they don't believe in religion, they don't believe in God, and they just spiritual. What are you thinking when you're talking about spiritual? What is in your mind when you hear the word God? Are you thinking of some vapor? When you say spirit, are you thinking of vapor? If you are, you're still dealing with Plato. Spirituality. Are you spirituality? Is your spirituality dealing with Plato here? What's your spirituality? Are you African spirituality? That's two white people. I mean, it depends on what you're thinking about when you're talking about spiritual. Keep in mind, talking about African, we got to deal with the influence of the Romans and the Greeks on our thinking. These people were spiritual scientists. You just ain't going to outthink this just off the rip. You're going to have to understand, read, study. Plato, these people changed the concept of spiritual from a material mind, material and substance, internal spirituality, into a purely outside force of immaterial vapor that you can't see. You see? And now that is our current concept that we're going to have to get rid of. You see, these are the type of thinkings that we're going to have to do to study to even be able to deal on this level. So, I think that's going to be, yeah, I think. All right, peace, family, peace.